Hey there nation, welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another edition of Our Longest War. This is the series of Warhammer 40,000 battle reports. It is a 1,000 point battle that was fought between my friend Brother Grimm of the Harbingers, the first Death Guard company of the Death Guard, versus yours truly with my Talassa Prime Watch Company Tertius of the Death Watch. So that's right, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of death on death going on in this Warhammer 40,000 battle report. This is the very first time I actually got up against Death Guard with anything I've ever played before in Warhammer 40,000, so I'm really excited to see exactly what happened. Last time I fought against anything that was related to Nurgle, I fought against Demons of Nurgle, and I just got my rear end handed to me, so it was really, really bad. So on this one, we're going to see exactly what happens when 1,000 points of Death Watch go up against 1,000 points of Death Guard. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play some background music real quick and go through the army lists. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for this one, feel free to pause and check it out at your own leisure. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this on. Alright, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, time to go over the scenario rules full quick. As you can see, we're fighting on a 4x6 table. I'm deployed on the near side of the table. My opponent, Brother Grimm, he is deployed on the far side of the table. We're still getting used to playing this game, Warhammer 40,000. I know a lot of you guys are like, what about command points? What about stratagems? You know, what about all that good stuff? To be quite frank with you, my friends and I, we play a lot of different war games, and we're just starting to get into Warhammer 40,000. So this will be the very last of the battle reports. We don't use those rules because we pretty much got comfortable with it now. So because of that, on next time we do this, we'll of course have all those things. So as you can see, we have a lot of wilderness spread throughout the entire battlefield, a lot of trees, and a lot of alien foliage. We got a ruined office building right in the middle of the terrain piece, as well as the statue dedicated to the King in Yellow on the right hand side, because we are fighting against Nurgle on this one. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and talk about the deployment areas as well as the battle plan for this scenario. Alright, so here's the overhead shot of the entire battlefield. As you can see, I have a huge horde of Nurgle to go up against on this one. So pretty much, as you can see, I've put my assault units on the right hand side as well as my main support units right there in the center. The idea is I'm going to try to avoid combat as long as possible as I can with my troops, because I am Death Watch, and whatever hits I do take, the guys I lose I really can't replace anymore. So because of that, I'm going to try to delay contact as much as possible and try to whittle down his forces as they come across the battlefield and try to engage with me, because that's kind of like a spec ops thing. So as you can see, he's got that huge horde of plague walkers. Those guys are kind of slow, so as long as I avoid them, I really don't have any problems with those guys. What I really need to concentrate on, however, are his plague marines as well as his plague drones, because those things can bring the long range pain. And that's pretty much the idea I'm going to go with on this scenario. Alright, so with the battle plan over, let's go and talk about deployment real quick for the Death Watch. This is my left-hand flank. On the left-hand side, as you can see, I got my Kill Team Kroll. That is my Flesh Terror unit. Those guys are armed with basically long-range firepower, as well as my 2 assault cannons. Right behind them, I have my Warlord, that is Watch Captain Artemis, so that way he gives all of his bonuses for being a Watch Captain. On the right-hand side, of course, is my real kill team. That is Kill Team Dothros. Those guys have a Terminator in there with a heavy flamer. I also got a bunch of melted guns in that unit, so I'm looking to bring forward to bring in the pain on this one. So really powerful left-hand flank for my deployment area. Alright, over here on the right-hand side of my area, I have my assault elements. On the left-hand side, I have Kill Team Zakeon. Those guys are my close combat guys. I got a black shield in there, as well as a couple of close combat kitted out troops. Right behind them, of course, I have Apostolatory Gaius. That is my librarian. He's located there as well. I also have Nihilus, my dreadnought with the twin lace cannons. Close combat weapon, as well as heavy flamer here on the left hand side, that little forest there on the right hand side of Kill Team Zakeon. And on the far right hand side there as well, I have Kill Team Cruadas, who's there. I got the guy armed with a shotgun in there. I got my 2 Vanguard veterans, as well as my biker. And then taking right behind them is Chaplain Cassius as well, lending some support with some chaplain goodness. So with the deployment for Death Watch over with, we go directly across the table to the deployment for the Death Guard. And making my opponent's left-hand flank, he's got both of his plague drones. The gray one is the one that has twin plague spitters, and the green one is the one that's carrying a heavy plague belcher. Not plague belcher. I'm sorry, plague cannon, I believe what it's called. That's the one that's like a really heavy plague cannon. That's also an assault weapon as well. And that makes up his left-hand flank. So I'm interested to see what those guys can do. In the center is where most of his Plague Marines are located at. On the left and right hand side, he's got 2 units of 5 Plague Marines. Those guys are dangerous because they have Plague Belchers, Plague Cannons, as well as Plasma Guns, and both those 5-man units, so that's pretty deadly. Right in the center, he has his guy who carries the bell. I forgot what that guy is called, but he's the one who gives advanced movement for troops when they advance across the battlefield, so that's kind of deadly. And then right behind him, of course, he's got his Malignant Plague Caster as well, which is his psyker, and that guy carries 2 psychic abilities on his person, so that's kind of a dangerous center right there. And finally, on the right-hand side of his right-hand flank, he has this huge unit of 30 Poxwalkers. Those guys are the Cursed. I'm kind of interested to see what these guys can do. Right smack dab right behind them, right in the middle, that is his Warlord Typhus, the first captain of the Death Guard. That guy's kind of dangerous because he gives these guys +1 strength and +1 toughness when he's in the range of these Poxwalkers. So it's kind of like a huge, wall of deadly stuff. Plus, if I remember correctly, he also has the psychic ability that also gains +1 toughness as well as +1 strength to units that he casts on. So these guys could be potentially strength 5, toughness 5 Poxwalkers, which make them really, really deadly. Plus they have disgustingly resilient, which also makes them very, very dangerous as well. And that pretty much makes the deployment for the Death Guard. So with deployment phase over, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and we roll off for initiative to see who goes first. Alright, so that takes us to the movement phase for the Death Guard. As you can see on this overhead shot, pretty much my buddy Brother Grimm wastes no time whatsoever and just starts advancing across the battlefield as he quickly can. Death Guard are kind of slow. These guys, I think, have like movement 4 as a standard. I think movement 4 and movement 5 for standard. So because of that, he starts advancing with all of his forces. So you can see he sends his Plague Marines as well as Malignant Plague Caster, as well as the Foul Blight Spawn, I believe is the name of the guy. He's got the bell on him. He starts sending to then cover right inside the office building there in the center. Also at the same time, he also moves up his Plague Drones. He doesn't advance with them, he just moves them up forward, I think because he plans on shooting with those guys. And on the right hand side, he starts advancing forward his huge tidal wave of Poxwalkers with his general in tow as well. So these guys are trying to close a distance as quickly as possible. Here's a close-up of his Plague Drones as well as his Plague Marines going through the office building, making their way towards me, which could be kind of deadly as well. These guys will get bonuses to their saves as well because they are within cover, so that's pretty dangerous. And here's a close-up of his Poxwalkers as well as Typhus making their way across the battlefield heading towards me. So with movement phase over, we go directly to the Psychic phase. And as you can see in the second phase, he basically buffs up his entire unit of Poxwalkers, is what he does. So these guys now have the psychic ability, I believe it's called, I forgot what it's called. It's the one where you basically get +1 strength as +1 toughness to your units. So now these Poxwalkers are toughness 5, strength 5 as well. Also, he also got off 2 more psychic abilities to buff up this unit. One is where I have -1 to hit against them because I believe they have like a plague of flies surrounding that causes problems. At the same time, these guys also get +1 to wound as well, which makes this unit exceptionally deadly because, you know, there's some really tough guys. I don't know if I'll be able to whittle them down with the firepower I have. They have high toughness, high strength, and they also have that disgusting resilience ability. So that is pretty scary. So with the psychic ability done, because I wasn't able to stop any of his spells from going off, we go directly to the shooting phase. And as you can see in this photo, he pretty much took it to me. He got that heavy heavy plasma gun, the heavy plague cannon, I believe is what it's called, off one of his plague drones. He opens up with that, as well as the plasma guns from the, as well as plague cannons that his plague marines have because they advance across the battlefield. So they do suffer -1 to hit, but as you can see, it didn't really matter all that much. He managed to kill 3 members of kill team Kroll is what I ended up doing. Took out my 2 guys, Armor Stalker, bolt guns, as well as my squad leader. The only thing I have left are my 2 assault cannon guys. So that was absolutely devastating to see how deadly these guys are with shooting. And of course, there's no surprise, of course, because these guys are Space Marines, even though they pledged their allegiance to Nurgle. So that's pretty deadly as well. Since there is no charge phase because everybody advanced forward, and there is no combat phase or combat phase, we go to the morale phase. I do manage to succeed in making sure none of my guys run away because we're Space Marines and we don't break. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we go directly to bottom turn number 1 for the death card. I apologize. We go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Death Watch, not Death Guard. Too many death names in this battle report. We're kind of dark on this one, I guess. So anyways, this is an overhead shot of the movie phase. As you can see, the very first thing I do, of course, I take Kill Team Crewad, which is my unit there with the biker inside of it. I use their teleport beacon ability to teleport them to the left-hand side of my deployment area right behind that hill, because I'm starting to realize now that my enemy's right-hand flank is very, very dangerous, and if I have any chance of succeeding, I have to engage on the left-hand side against his, I guess, not as tough choices that he has, because everything in Nurgle is tough one way or the other. At the same time, I also start advancing all of my other kill teams over the left hand side as well, trying to escape those pock walkers. Hopefully if I could take out his plague marines as well as his plague drones, I'll be okay, and I can just take those pox walkers apart. As you can see, I moved the remainder of kill team Kroll as well as Watch Captain Artemis. I moved over to the left hand side of that rubble pile. I also move kill team Dothros over to the left hand side as well, so that way they're staring down the barrel of that office building so that they can open fire with their assault weapons for their melta guns. I also move over kill team Zakan as well to the left hand side. Same thing with Nihilus as well as my chaplain Cassius and Upholstery Gaius, because I need to shift over to the left and engage that way as well. And that pretty much makes the move phase on this side. Here's a close-up of Kill Team Crewad moving over to the left-hand side of that hill, so that way that can start assaulting on the left-hand side against those plague drones, because those things are pretty frightening in the shooting phase. And here's a close-up of Kill Teams Kroll and Dothros, as well as Watch Captain Artemis taking up firing positions on the left-hand side here as well, so they can start engaging those Plague Marines, because those guys look like they're pretty scary as well. And finally, here's a close-up of Kill Teams Ikaon, Nihilus, Upholstery Gaius, as well as Chaplain Cassius, moving over to the left-hand side as well, trying to get away from those Pox Walkers as well as Typhus, because those guys look really brutal. So with the move phase over, we go directly to the psychic phase. And unfortunately for me, I kind of flooded my rolls for my psychic abilities on this part. I was trying to get off Veil of Time onto Kill Team Crewad, so that way they can move quickly across the battlefield and hopefully engage those plague drones, but unfortunately I wasn't able to cast that result. However, I did manage to put another one, which is called Might of Heroes, onto Nihilus the Dreadnought, so that way he has +1 strength and toughness. And the reason why I did that is because I plan on leaving Nihilus over here in the right hand flank to take on those Pox Walkers. Hopefully he can hold those guys down because he's pretty high strength as well as pretty high toughness, and with his shooting abilities he might be able to cause some harm as well. And that pretty much makes it the second phase on this part. So with second phase done, we go to the shooting phase. And the very first thing I target is I take the 2 frag cannon operators from Kill Team Kroll and have them open fire onto the plague drone that carries the plague cannon on, the heavy plague cannon. And I opened up with the single shots on that one, so that way they can cause maximum damage, because I soon realized that these plague drones actually have very high toughness, so these guys can fly, they got good weaponry, and they got high toughness as well as disgustingly resilient, so that's pretty scary. I did manage to put 4 wounds onto that plague drone, so that part was kind of nice, but I'm starting to realize that these Nurgle guys can take a hit. Meanwhile, here in the center, I take aim with Kill Team Dothros members. I have them aim their melta guns, so they do suffer -1 to hit because they did advance, but because they're assault weapons, it doesn't really matter. This guy also gets +1 to his save, but because these are melta guns, it really didn't do him much good, unfortunately. As you can see in this photo, I had no problem taking on that blight spawn like it's nobody's business. Just melted that guy back to his baser elements, which is also good because that means these the Plague Marines won't be able to move as quickly in the next phase, so that's kind of nice as well. So with shooting phase over, there is no charge phase because I pretty much advanced everything forward. I didn't take any losses so far, so because I don't have to worry about doing a morale phase, and since no one's engaged in close combat, that pretty much ends my turn. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 and we roll off for initiative on that one. So I managed to steal the initiative on this one, so we go directly to the move phase. As you can see in this photo, I move my forces up just their normal movement allowances, so that way they can start engaging with some rapid fire ability with their long range weapons, as well as start shooting at some fools, and hopefully I might be able to charge off a couple of assaults as well and start taking out some of these units. So as you can see here, my entire army just kind of moves up kind of gingerly forward. Kill Team Cruad on the left hand side gets within range with their rapid fire weapons against those 2 plague drones. Same thing with my what's the remainder of Kill Team Kroll, so that way I can get my frag cannons and start cutting loose on some units as well. At the same time, I also move up Kill Team Dothros as well as Kill Teams like Kaon on the right hand side, so that way they can start putting a crossfire onto those Plague Marines. At the same time, I also move up Nihilus as well. He will have to suffer -1 to hit, but he's got a pretty good ballistic skill, so not too worried about him. And of course, I move up Impulsatory Gaius as well as Chaplain Cassius to land in their support for my troops as well. And that makes it the move phase. Here's a close-up of Kill Team Cruad as well as Kill Team Kroll and Watchcraft Artemis getting ready to bring the pain onto those plague drones. And finally, here's a close-up of Kill Team Dothros as well as Kill Team Zykaon getting ready to engage those plague marines and hopefully bring some pain against those guys. And I also have my Chaplain as well as my Librarian bring up support, as well as Nihilus getting ready to bring the pain with some long-range fire as well. Unfortunately, during the psychic phase, my psychic phase was a wash because my opponent, Brother Grimm, was able to unbind each of my spells, so because of that, nothing happened there. So because of that, we go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, we see the full might of what happens when you start cutting loose with the might of Death Watch heavy weapons and special weapons against a squad of Plague Marines. It was absolutely fantastic to see exactly what happened. First off, Kill Team Cruad opened up onto the Plague Drone that carries the heavy Plague Cannon. I managed to put 2 more wounds on that guy. I originally was going to use my Hellfire Bolts for my special ammunition, which lets me get 2 up to wound, but then my buddy told me that these are vehicles, so because of that, I couldn't use that. So because of that, I had to use the high-powered version of the rounds that -3 inches and 6 inches from weaponry from ranges, but it does give me AP -2. So I used that on these guys. I was able to slip 2 wounds on that guy. However, I did take the frag cannons with their assault cannon mode. I took the melta guns as well as the bolters from Kill Team Dothros. I took whatever long range fire I could have from Kill Teams Zykaon, as well as Nihilus opened up with his last cannons. I was able to wipe out that unit of Plague Marines. If it wasn't for those Hellfire bolts, it'd be like hellish for me to do so. I got really lucky on that part because not only would I successfully hit and wound, but my opponent kind of flubbed his save rolls, and when it came to his disgustingly resilient rolls, he flubbed those as well, so it was enough to wipe out the rest of the units. I think he only had like 1 more Plague Marine left, but because of all the damage that took place, he failed his morale test, and that guy fled off the battlefield as well, so that was kind of nice later on in the turn as well. So with the shooting phase over, we go directly to the charge phase. As you see in this photo, I send in Kill Team Cruad to take on the Plague Drone that's armed with the 2 Plague Spitters, and I also take Kill Team Kroll as well as Watchcat Artemis and charge into the wounded Plague Drone as well. Because the way I see it, these guys are good at shooting and they're pretty maneuverable, so they can't be good at everything. So that was my rationale anyway. So I engage these guys in close combat, and hopefully I can finish off these 2 Plague Drones. And as you can see in the combat and the morale phases, I was sorely underestimating how powerful these Plague Drones really are. I do manage to put 1 more wound onto the Plague Drone that's carrying the heavy Plague Cannon, so that was kind of nice, but I just kind of flooded my rolls against this guy. These guys are really high toughness. I think they're like toughness 7 is what these guys end up happening. I also managed to put 5 wounds onto the Plague Spitter drone as well, so that was kind of nice. So these guys are almost close to being crippled and having half their wounds remaining, but man, these Plague Drones are something else. And then the worst worst part was when I engaged these guys, because I guess I'm more of a Warhammer fantasy player. I figured, once you engage in close combat, you really can't escape it. But I forgot that flyers, they can disengage and then be able to shoot their next turn as well. And that realization kind of hit me after I tried to damage these guys. I wasn't able to do anything, and then I realized, oh crap, I'm going to be within range for these guys to bring their heavy guns against me and might just destroy my left-hand flank. So that was pretty bad as well. So I'm not looking forward to see what happens with that. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we go directly to the bottom of the turn for the Death Guard. Alright, so in the movement phase for turn 2 of the Death Guard, as you can see in this photo, he does take his 2 blade drones and has them move back 10 inches as well. And because they can move back and they can still shoot because they're flyers, and that's just kind of scary and devastating. I'm not looking forward to that, so may the Emperor be with me on that one. Also on the right hand side as well, as you can see, my buddy also moves up his Plague Walkers, his Pox Walkers, as well as Typhus as well. He doesn't advance with these guys because it looks like what he's trying to do is maneuver his forces on the right hand side to charge into my Dreadnought. And I'm kind of glad that I buffed up his strength and toughness, because that's going to really be important for this next combat phase coming up. So pretty devastating movement going on right now with the Death Guard. And here's a close-up of those plague drones falling back to that hill, getting ready to open up with some heavy firepower onto my kill teams as well as Watch Cat of Artemis. So I'm pretty afraid to see exactly what will happen when that takes place. And here's a close-up of the Pox Walkers as well as Typhus getting ready to charge in the next charge phase as well. So with the movement phase over, we go directly to the psychic phase. And as you can see in this photo, my opponent just gets off his psychic abilities like it's nobody's business. I did try to unbind a couple of his abilities, but unfortunately my rolling was just not high enough, and I only get to do that once because I only have one librarian. So as you can see, not only does he buff him up with the +1 strength as well as +1 toughness, he also gives them the ability to get +1 on their wound rolls as well. So once again, these Pox Walkers are not strength 5, toughness 5 with a bonus to wound, and that's pretty devastating considering. And plus they also get that extra bonus from Typhus being there as well. So with the psychic phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. As you can see in this photo, during the shooting phase, Kill Team Cruad lost its biker as well as its sergeant as well. So because I only got my 2 Vanguard veterans on the left-hand side, so that was pretty devastating. And instead, he did that with the twin plague spitters from the drone carrying the twin plague spitters on that part. At the same time, he also takes his drone that's carrying the heavy plague cannon and causes 3 wounds on a Watch Cat of Artemis. So that was pretty devastating as well. I just flooded my rolls, wasn't able to stop the death that was kind of coming my way. So absolutely devastating on that part. And as you can see in the charge rate, it's like something out of The Walking Dead as well as World War Z. Those Pox Walkers just charge directly into Nihilus. And now my Dreadnought is facing down this huge tidal wave of Strength 5, Toughness 5 Pox Walkers with Typhus and support as well. So that was absolutely devastating as well. I'm not looking forward to see how that combat goes. So with the charge phase over, we go directly to the combat phase as well as the morale phase. And as you can see in this photo, my Dreadnought was unable to do anything. The number of attacks that these guys got off, I think they get 2 attacks apiece if they were within range, and they just ate my Dreadnought alive. As like these Pox Walkers just crawled over his carapace and just tore him apart and just ripped him to pieces. So that was absolutely demoralizing to see that happen. I was totally surprised of how deadly these Pox Walkers are, especially when they got all their bonuses put on them with psychic abilities as well as with their command abilities from Typhus as well. And now the rest of my kill teams, as well as my Chaplain Librarian, are the only guys, left. And I'm just terrified to see what happens to those Pox Walkers get up to me. So I'm going to have to do some really, some crackerjack timing and try to, escape real quick and hopefully whittle these guys down a little bit more with some long-range fire and hopefully not get engaged, because that was absolutely terrifying to see that happen. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that ends turn number 2. We go directly to the top of turn number 3 and we roll off for initiative. Alright, so this is after the move phase on turn number 3. As you can see, I do a little bit of some creative maneuvering at this point. First of all, on the top left hand side, I move up kill teams Kroll, Cruad, as well as Artemis. I move them up a couple inches forward so that way I can get within range of Captain Artemis's stasis bomb, so that way I can drop one of those things and hopefully destroy one of these plague drones. At the same time, as you can see on the bottom right hand side, I take kill team Zykaon, as well as kill team Dothros, as well as my Librarian and Chaplain, to kind of maneuver them to the left hand side a little bit to put a buffer zone between me as well as those Pox Walkers. Hopefully I can whittle them down a little bit with some long range fire before they come into groups with me in close combat. So that pretty much makes it the movement phase on this one. Here's a close-up of my kill teams on the left-hand side, getting ready to bring some pain onto those plague drones and hopefully destroy those guys. And here's a close-up of kill teams Dothros as well as Ikaon, as well as my chaplain librarian getting ready to whittle down some of those poxwalkers before they engage me in close combat. Unfortunately, I kind of flowed to my psychic phase. With that being said, we go directly to the shooting phase. As you can see in this photo, things start going pretty bad for me. First thing I do is I take Watch Captain Artemis, I chuck a stasis bomb to the plague drone that's carrying the twin plague spitters. And not only did I kill that thing, but that thing also explodes as well, and it caused a magic explosion and caused one mortal wound for everything within 7 inches. So I put a wound onto the the plague drone there, right on the right hand side. Also killed one of my Vanguard veterans from Kill Team Cruad, killed one of my frag cannon operators from Kill Team Kroll, as well as put a mortal wound onto Watch Captain Artemis. So that was pretty rough. But that's okay though, because I'm going to plan on using out the rest of my 2 kill teams to finish the plague drone. I mean, how bad could it possibly be? So in the shooting phase, I do manage to hit that thing with the frag cannon. I do manage to blow up the plague drone carrying the heavy plague cannon, but unfortunately that thing also blew up as well, which is pretty devastating, and it caused a mortal wound. So not only did it kill off the rest of Kill Team Cruad, it also killed the rest of Kill Team Kroll, and it also put the last wound onto Watch Captain Artemis as well. So now my entire left-hand flank is gone. On the plus side, my opponent's twin plague drones are gone too, but man, that was pretty devastating to see that happen. It was pretty bad. And then, of course, you can see in this photo, I think I kill 1 or 2 poxwalkers in the end after everything I started shooting at those guys with. And the reason why is because they have really high strength and toughness, and also that disgusting resilience kind of saved them as well. So that was absolutely demoralizing, seeing 2 kill teams with the guys open up on this unit and actually cause no damage whatsoever. So because of that, there is no combat or charge phases because I'm not engaging these guys in close combat, and there's no morale phase. So because of that, we go directly to bottom of turn number 3 for the death card. So as you can see, the poxwalkers as well as the typhus kind of inch forward as well during the movement phase, heading towards my kill teams because it looks like they're getting ready to charge in the next charge phase, so that's kind of scary. And in the psychic phase, Typhus does try to get off his ability to give them a bonus to wound. I do manage to unbind that one. However, he does get the other one when it gives them buffs to their strength as well as toughness. So now once again, these poxwalkers are at strength 5, toughness 5. So that's pretty devastating. So we skip the shooting phase because nothing's within range of shooting with Typhus, and poxwalkers of course don't shoot. So because of that, we go directly to the charge phase. And as you can see in this photo, those poxwalkers just swarm over Kill Team Dothros. I do try to overwatch, but unfortunately I wasn't able to hit anything, so because of that, now my Kill Team Dothros is engaged in close combat with these guys. And Typhus, of course, is engaged with my Black Shield armor with his Grand Thunderhammer. So because of that, we go directly to the combat phase. Needless to say, those poxwalkers just destroyed my kill team like it was nobody's business. It killed the sergeant as well as 3 members of my kill team as well. However, I do leave my Black Shield alive, so that was kind of nice. So my Black Shield takes his Grand Thunderhammer and goes up against Typhus in order to counterattack. And like a boss, he just smashes that Grand Thunderhammer right directly into Typhus's face and just absolutely destroys him. I managed to get off 2 of my hits on the attack, so that was kind of nice. And when I rolled for damage, one of the dice came up with a 6, so because that, he automatically causes 6 damage. The other one rolled up a 4, so because that, he does cause 10 damage in total. It was enough to put this first company commander right back into the warp where he belongs. So that was pretty awesome as well. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, that takes us directly to the end of the game. My buddy Brother Grimm realized that for the rest of the turn, I'm just going to keep on trying to evade his poxwalkers and just shoot him for the rest of the turn, which will make it kind of a boring game. So because of that, my buddy Brother Grimm calls the game, and the Death Watch wins it. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we go directly to the after action report because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king.
Alright people, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for the longest war, Warhammer 40,000 battle report number 11, and it being a victory for yours truly. So let's go ahead and talk about our losses real quick. For my losses, I lost Watch Captain Artemis, Nihilus, the Venerable Dreadnought, Kill Team Cruad, as well as Kill Team Kroll. So about half of my forces were killed in this battle report. Brother Grimm, on the other hand, he lost Typhus, Naxos the Alchemist, Volzaz Nor the Bellman, the Filthbringers, the Rancid Ones, the Droning Horror, as well as Seeping Death. So pretty much lost everything except for his Cursed, which is his huge unit of Poxwalkers. So right off the bat, Death Guard are no joke. They have high strength, high toughness, they're deadly in shooting, they're even deadlier in close combat, they're resilient, they have good psychic as well as buffing abilities, they're just an all-around really tough unit to go against. The only thing that they are really bad at is moving quickly, and that is the only thing that they suffer from. Not to mention the combination of taking Poxwalkers and Typhus and combining those two equals to a really deadly combination. Especially if you use that psychic ability that gives him +1 strength as well as +1 toughness. Very, very hard unit to kind of break out against. At the same time, my buddy Brother Grim after the battle report, he's actually planning on creating multiple units of Poxwalkers just to make them a little bit more maneuverable. I went with one giant unit before so that way they get +1 to hit, but if he has like 2 units instead, that makes him even deadlier, so that's kind of scary to look at as well. Like I said before, the only thing that kind of saved me in this battle report is the fact that Death Guard are kind of slow to get across the battlefield, so it does buy me some time to whittle them down, but still, oof, exceptionally deadly. First of all, the first thing I realized, I think I need to rethink my kill team loadouts and my forces and try to maximize and balance them out more. I'm realizing that relying on 2 units for support and 2 units for assault is kind of making my army kind of vulnerable, because if one kill team goes out, then that's like half my strategy right out the window. So I'm going to have to rethink about like loading out my troops, because if my support units get destroyed, then I have nothing to answer for anything that my enemy might throw against me, so that makes it kind of deadly as well. The new Death Watch Codex is rolling out this week, so maybe I'll give that a go and kind of take a look at what I can do with that unit and start using some of the things I see in there to kind of help balance out my forces a little bit more as well. So that'll be kind of nice as well. Like I said before, this is the very last game my friends and I are just going to be playing to learn. Next time we'll bring another battle report. We'll use command points and stratagems and all that kind of stuff as well. As always, this was a really fun game. It was really fun to play against my friend Brother Grim, and I'm looking forward to the rematch as always. Well, that's good to do for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is always appreciated. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, and Blogger for all latest news on our hobby. So that's good to do for this one, you guys. We will catch you guys in the next one. We'll see you this Wednesday for a Necromunda battle report for our Underhive Wars campaign. We'll also see you again this Friday for another hobby side video. So that way, this time we'll be using an army showcase. So that's good to do with this one, you guys. You guys stay classy. We will catch you on the flip side. Peace out.